Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Priska Febriyanti with ID student 242200011. And today I would like to present my ICT-based English lesson unit entitled Fractured Stories, designed for grade 10 senior high school students. This lesson unit was developed as part of the ICT-based lesson planning course. Okay, in this project, I tried to design a lesson that combines curriculum goals, classroom activities, assessment, and technology into one learning experience that is meaningful and engaging for students. For today's presentation, I will explain three products that I designed. First is the lesson plan. Second is the student worksheet. And third is the story fragment cards as the learning media. So, first, I will start with the lesson plan. Okay, this lesson is designed for grade 10 student in semester 2. And the topic is fractal stories as part of narrative text learning. The lesson is conducted in 2 meetings, and each meeting takes 90 minutes. Before designing the lesson, I started by analyzing the curriculum and syllabus. Based on the learning outcomes, students are expected to understand and produce narrative text while identifying text structure and language features, and also express their ideas creatively through collaborative activities. Because of that, I choose fractal stories as the main topic. A fractal story is a rewritten version of an existing story where some parts are changed creatively. Students may change the character, settings, conflict, ending, or moral value. So, in this lesson, students don't only read stories but also analyze, reconstruct, and create new versions. To support this lesson, I developed the objectives used the ABCD model. At the end of the lesson, students are expected to arrange story fragments, identify narrative structure, analyze story elements, create their own fractal story collaboratively, and present it using digital media. To achieve these objectives, I selected project-based learning or PGBL. I chose this model because I wanted students to become more active during the learning process. Students are involved in discussion, collaboration, creation, and presentation instead of only receiving information from the teacher. This lesson also reflects the deep learning principles. I try to design activities where students are more involved in the learning process. Students don't only read stories, but they also analyze, discuss, create, and present their ideas. They work together to reconstruct stories, transfer them into fractal stories, and develop their own version creatively. Through these activities, students can experience learning more actively and meaningfully. Now, I will explain the learning activities. In meeting 1, the lesson starts with a brainstorming activity. Students are invited to mention Indonesian folktales they already know. This activity helps activate their prior knowledge before entering the lesson. After that, students watch a short YouTube video introducing fractured stories. Students then discuss the difference between original stories and fractured stories. The teacher also explained the project overview and assessment criteria. Next, students move to the main activity. Students receive mixed story fragment and work collaboratively to reconstruct the complete story. After arranging the story, students identify narrative structure and analyze story elements such as character, setting, conflict, solution, plot, and moral value. At the end of the meeting, students reflect using Mentimeter and prepare ideas for story modification. Okay, next, in meeting 2, student begins with a review activity using quizzes. This activity helps students recall concepts from the previous meeting. After that, students move into project development. Students transform an original folktales into a fractal story by changing different story elements. Groups write their story collaboratively using Microsoft Word and then create presentation slides using Canva. Finally, students present their project and submit them through Google Classroom. To support the lesson, several ICT tools are integrated. Each tool was selected based on its function. YouTube is used to introduce concepts. Quizlet support interactive review. Microsoft Word support collaborative writing. Canva helps students present their ideas visually. Mentimeter support reflection. Google support information searching. And Google Classroom helps organize assignment submission. So, technology in this lesson is used to support learning, not to become the center of learning. Next, I will explain the assessment design. This lesson used both formative and summative assessment. Formative assessment includes observation, classroom activities, quizzes, worksheet completion, and peer feedback. For summative assessment, focuses on student final fractured story project and presentation. Students are assessed based on content, narrative structure, language use, creativity, presentation, and collaboration. So, the assessment measures both the learning process and the final outcome. After completing this lesson design, I also reflected to the experience. One challenge was balancing technology integration with meaningful learning. Through this process, I realized that technology should support learning objectives instead of becomes the main focus. Teachers still play an important role in guiding students, facilitating discussion and giving feedback. Overall, designing this lesson helped me understand how to create a more student-centered learning experience through ICT integration. And that concludes the lesson plan. Now I will continue with the second product, which is the student worksheet. Okay, here the student worksheet. The worksheet was designed to guide students throughout the learning process. Students don't simple and answer question. Instead, the worksheet helps students organize ideas, identify narrative structure, analyze story elements, and prepare their factor story project. The worksheet also support collaboration because students complete activities and discuss ideas together. For meeting 2, students use the worksheet to organize their ideas before writing and presenting their final project. So, the worksheet functions as a guide from the beginning until the final project. Lastly, I would like to explain the story fragment cards. Okay, here is the cards. These cards are the main learning media used in meeting 1. I designed them using several Indonesian folktales such as Lutung Kasarung, White Salad and Red Salad, Lake Toba, Timun Mas, Sangkuriang, and The Crying Rock. Before the activity begins, the teacher prints, cuts, and shuffles the cards. Each student receives one fragment. Students move around the classroom to find classmates who have fragments from the same story. After forming groups, they reconstruct the complete story together. This activity encourages students to communicate, discuss ideas, and think critically before deciding the correct sequence. After reconstructing the story, students continue creating their own fractured version. This media support mindful, meaningful, and joyful learning because students actively participate, connect with familiar stories, and enjoy the learning process. To conclude, these lesson units show how English learning can become more interactive and meaningful through project-based learning and ICT integration. Students are expected not only improve their English skill but also develop creativity, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and digital literacy. And then that's all from me. Thank you for your attention and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.